Now I am here to talk to you about clickjacking. Since I'm inherently, I used to be a breaker, now I'm more of a builder, so I'm going to cover both. I know some of you guys only like to break, some people only like to build. I'm going to cover both. First, I'm curious, how many people have heard of clickjacking before?
I clickjack all the time.
Clickjack all the time, okay. All right, so we can, that doesn't mean what I think you think it means. All right, so quickly then for the 10% of the room who hasn't heard of it. So clickjacking is, let's say I want to get someone to click on a button because I want them to take an action on a website. And assume this website is very secure. I can't SQL inject it, I can't cross-site script it, I can't do any other attack, and my target is, smart and, isn't going to accidentally click on, in this example here, the Twitter, delete account button. But I've got to trick them into doing it. So how am I going to do it? Well, the answer is I can create a page that just says something like best game ever and has a play button. And then on top of that page, I open in an iframe the Twitter page or whatever page it is that I want them to click that button or take that action. I make that frame invisible, and then I simply line things up so that the button I want them to click is right over the play button. So when they go to this page, they click on the play button, and boom, they don't realize it, they're actually clicking on the top frame, which in this image here is the Twitter page. Some examples that have been used. One is this: if you ever have a flash, little thing that's trying to access your webcam or microphone, it obviously pops up a message, which is a good thing. I wouldn't want Flash to start recording me without my permission. When they first discovered this vulnerability, they realized they could clickjack this. So they could have this thing pop up, make it invisible, and then also write some JavaScript to have it follow the mouse cursor around. So wherever you clicked on the page next, you were actually clicking on the allow button. And all of a sudden, you're giving whoever it is who wrote this code, unbeknownst to you, permission to use your webcam and microphone. And then, of course, the Facebook like button. So this is a fun one. Sometimes when I talk about clickjacking, I talk about it as developers sometimes, and their first question is always, yeah, but does this ever really happen? Because developers are used to security people coming in and having these like highfalutin theoretical things. So next time you're in front of a computer, which will probably not be very long for most of us, you can Google, she did that in public eye. And as of whenever I took this screenshot, it got about 1.5 million results. This was a clickjacking Facebook worm. What happens is you were on Facebook and you saw one of your friends liked this video called "She Did That in Public Eye," and it had this little picture. It was like this PG-rated picture. So you're like, okay, my friend whoever liked this. What is this thing? So you click on it, and it took you to a page like this. Looks like YouTube. There's a big like button on it, but the like button was invisible. So what you saw was this. And what's the first thing you're going to do when you see this here? You're going to click right in the middle there. Yeah. You are the only one who will view page source. If you viewed page source, you would see this was actually a static GIF. This wasn't even, you weren't at YouTube. This wasn't even a video. It was purely a static GIF, which I'm sure they just got by doing a screen cap of YouTube. So people would click on the play button. They'd actually be clicking on the like button, and then they would like it, and it would spread to all of their friends, which is how this thing spread around. Sorry, I know how much people here hate demos. This is going to show a quick demo here. So I've got two pages here. This one is the page that we don't want to click on. If we do click on it, it will say, "You fool, now we are ruined." So I want to get someone to click on this. How do I do that?
Tell them it's porn.
All right. So
Do it for the source.
So this page here, actually let's change this to 0.5 so we can see. This page here is called, so the page that people don't want to click on is called dangerous. This page is called ClickJ. So you can see I've set the opacity of the top frame to 50%. So you can see, you can sort of tell there's that button there. There's this button here on top that says don't click. And obviously if I click it, it'll take effect. But if I make this frame invisible, if I set the opacity to 0, or translucency, I forget which one's which. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yes, really? Yeah, you can see the code on the left side. Yeah, look, if you view source, it's right there. Okay, so I don't know about some people with special vision, but for most of us, there's no visual indicator of what it is I'm about to click on. And as you can see, I'm not going to click on this image. If I click, I'm now clicking on that invisible frame. Which, I'll be honest, it seems like that shouldn't, doesn't it seem like that shouldn't happen, right? There's an unwritten rule that I shouldn't be able to click on something I can't see, right? I don't know, it just seems philosophically wrong. All right, so how did we resolve this? So back in the day, we used to tell people, and I admit I'm guilty of this too, I used to tell people this too, oh, we don't want people to do this attack, put in your home page this little snippet of JavaScript, which basically will break you out of a frame. So if someone tries to open you inside a frame, you break out of the frame, problem solved. Didn't take long for people to come up with frame busting JavaScript. So the builders responded with frame busting JavaScript. This got really messy really quickly. If you Google this, I think you can find it out to like 7 or 8 bustings worth of JavaScript. Obviously, yeah, it just got to be a horrible mess. So we decided to come up with a better method. The XFrame options header. So this is an optional HTTP header. It's set by the server, and the server basically can specify what can frame a particular page. And there's 3 options that you can set with the XFrame options header. So deny, the page can't be framed at all. Same origin, the page can only be framed by other pages that are on the same domain. Or allow from URL. You specify basically a whitelist of what pages are allowed to frame your page. The control itself is enforced by the browser. Listed down here are the newest versions of each of the major browsers that actually enforce this control. At this point, this is just about everything. It's IE 8, Safari 4, Firefox 369. You might have some people running around still using like IE 6 or 7, but that's going to be a very, very small percentage of your population.
They're all DOD.
Sorry, they're all what?
DOD.
DOD. Well, at least it's nothing important. So if you decide to include this, security mechanism, the vast majority of your end users should be protected at their end. To implement it, if you're using Apache, you set it in httpd.conf. Header always append XFrame options, and then you pick what you want. Same origin, deny or allow from URL. If you're using IIS, it's in the web.config file. You set a custom header. That extra greater than sign is a typo on my part. I apologize. One that's obviously bad XML. Basically just add name, XFrame options, value equals whatever you want. If you're using nginx, you can add it either to the HTTP, the server, or the location config files. Again, just add header, XFrame options. For Ruby, it's on by default. Go Ruby. If you're using some other web server, just Google your web server and add custom header, and you'll probably find it. All right, so I wanted to show you the header in action. This header, by the way, even though it's a very simple thing, and it protects, it adds a certain measure of protection, and it's something that is so simple to add to your application, I can't believe more people don't use it. Like the surveys out there, I saw one a while ago, I don't remember the exact number, it was something like 3% of the web servers use the XFrame options header, which is one of the reasons I wanted to talk about it, because it's clearly the word is not getting out. It's such a simple security thing, it's not like there's an impact. Users don't see this, they don't, it's good security, it's transparent security. So anyway, I was going to show you it in action. Gmail uses the XFrame options header. As you can see, I don't know if you can see in the back, but they said XFrame options equal to same origin. So you should only be able to frame Gmail from the same origin. So yes, I do have internet. So this is the just quick page. Basically, all it does is open up Gmail in a frame. And it's not transparent, so you can actually see it. And as you can see, my browser isn't doing it. There's where Gmail should be, and you just got this big empty white box. So, yay, security works.
What about on mobile devices?
What about on mobile devices? So again, it depends. Again, it's a browser. It's up to the browser to enforce it, so it depends on exactly the browser. Again, if you're using like mobile Chrome, it would be whatever version I had on the previous slide, or Opera. The other, again, it's up to each browser. So I don't know the exact versions of each browser that support it, the less common ones. It's a good question, though. Something to look up. All right. So yeah, I put that in case I didn't have internet access. That's what it looks like. It's all right. That's it. Any questions? Yeah. Sorry?
How are the X-frames enforced?
How's the header enforced?
Yeah, so like, why can't you write your own server and manually grab that page and then just inject it to the response that you send back to a client?
So the X-frame options header, it's enforced by the browser. So if the idea is that this is part of a social engineering attack. So if my target is Bob, imagine Bob over here, and I want Bob to click on that button. I get Bob to go to my page. He sees best game ever. He's going to click on it. Bob's browser will open it, and when my hostile page tries to open the Twitter iframe, Bob's browser won't do it.
But Bob's getting the response from me from the server though.
Right.
So can't the server just change it and then as it's on its way to Bob?
Change it to put in what?
He's talking about managing.
So
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
well, that, or if you had a malicious site that had both some action that it wanted to hide invisible on top of something more benign, then yes, like this wouldn't defend against it because it's a malicious website, like top to bottom. But finding something that is harmful for the user to click on, that's not a link to a third-party site that would have these protections built in, is a little harder. Like, you'd have to come up with an attack that could be done entirely. Now, I think your Flash record button example actually would be a good attack that this doesn't defend against, right? Because you would have the whole thing hosted on a malicious site.
Right. They fixed that one independently of the
Yeah,
X-frame
but
options
like
header.
that,
Yeah.
You would need some. This wouldn't be enough to cover, but it would be enough to cover preventing somebody from clicking on a third-party,
Right.
site.
Right. The idea of this attack is, and you can sort of see in the picture, I'm trying to get Bob. Bob is my innocent user. I'm trying to get him to click on that page on Twitter. So the idea is if Twitter puts in the X-frame options header, this attack, I can't open Twitter in the iframe. Now there's other things you can do, I'm sure. But at least for this attack, that will stop Twitter from getting opened in an iframe. All right, Sean?
So, CSS has a Z, I don't remember what it is, but it basically allows...
Z-axis to set the layer, yeah.
So couldn't you use that to do the same type of thing?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it's doing. Yeah, so the question is, CSS, Cascading Style Sheets, has basically an index that allows you to set like the height of your layers. So you can put layers on top of each other. That's exactly what the attack is doing. Is it's putting, it's opening Twitter in an iframe, putting it on top, and then setting it to invisible. Oh, couldn't you do the same thing with CSS?
Right, just adjust the CSS for that iframe.
You still have to open the page in something.
Okay.
I mean, here, if you look at the code that I had up, page.
Well, but I think
That wasn't it.
What he's asking is if you leveraged or added a layer to a current CSS, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
And this is a style sheet here. And this is how I did it.
So if you injected another layer in that, you'd probably have to compromise the original site to get that additional layer anyway, right? Rather than just being able to sort of...
Either way, even if you, I mean, you've still got to, so you're saying you can set, where you want the layer. Yeah, but you still got to have, the layer still has to contain, so let's use Twitter again, the layer still has to contain Twitter, right? Setting it top or bottom, that's easy. You're right, that's just in the style sheet. But somehow I've still got to open it. If I've got Bob going to malicious.com, I've still got to get Twitter to get opened in an iframe on malicious.com for Bob to click on.
No matter what layer it is.
Right. And then you're right. And then you're exactly right. If I've got 12 layers on my website for whatever reason, then I make him number 13, Twitter number 13, Yeah?
Can you put this on the Google Drive so we can play with it as well?
Sure. What, the code or the I'll put both. Sure.
Wait, that doesn't work in Conjugate mode, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen this with Node.js?
So have I ever seen
Seen this with Node.js?
have I ever seen this with Node.js?
No.
Yeah, oh, Node.js. You mean what, a clickjacking attack?
Well, yeah, if I theoretically scanned some Node.js application and saw scan results that indicated the same origin problem, would it be clickjacking? Was it related? I'm basically trying to figure out. Or is it just, am I asking silly questions? Yeah. Okay.
No, I'm not. I don't know enough about Node.js to be able to answer that.
Okay.
And again, theoretically, if if you could, theoretically this attack could be launched on any site which could be opened in an iframe. So if there's no defense against that.
Do you know any browsers or browser extensions that will allow the user to just say, look, at minimum, same origin, like, same origin is the most I'll be willing to do.
For iframes?
Like NoScript or something.
I don't know, again, I don't know.
'Cause I know NoScript has some kind of iframe.
Yeah, does anyone else? I'm not big on the personal browser extensions. I'm sure there would be, but again, it's one of those things like it would break a lot. You know, iframes are very, very, very useful, right? Like developers use them all the time. So if you try to like turn on same origin for yourself for iframes, you might find all sorts of sites suddenly start breaking. So it might work for you, but it wouldn't work for the other 99% of the people.
Random question from the developer standpoint, because I can never see a legitimate iframe. What's the purpose for one?
I don't know what you're talking about. I've seen legitimate iframes. Here's a very common one.
Okay.
All the time. So were you on the web in like the mid-90s?
No.
So yeah, God, the web. So the web in the mid-90s, there were frames, and what you do is people would have you'd have like your menu on the left side of the page, and it would take the left like whatever 20% of the page, say, and then your main page would be the other 80% of the page, and it would be two separate HTML pages, and you'd frame it. So your root page would be framed, and it would say, you know, menu bar left 20%, and then rest of the page other 80%. And then when you clicked on the left-hand page, you'd say open this link. So, you know, be page 1, page 2, page 3. It would say open it in the main frame. So you'd click on it, and then it would open over here. And the problem is, somewhere in the main page now, you would have a link back to home, and you would link it to the root page, so you'd open a frame inside a frame. And it was ugly, and they both scrolled independently, and the communications between the two were clunky, and it just, so that's why they got rid of it, and they put in iframes, and they're much more seamless, and they're a huge improvement. And yeah, that's the thing, they're so seamless, I'll bet you don't even know it, but you probably see them every day.
Maybe
So.
what I was asking was because whenever I see an iframe, it's 99.999% of the time bad. So
You must be hanging out on the wrong parts of the internet.
I do instant response.
Okay, there you go. That so that's your job description. Okay. You're only reading the iframes for the articles. All right. Anything else? Yeah, Josh.
So exactly how does the same origin work? So like if I change something in my host file, my local box, would, for example, did something like that, subdomain or whatever, would that work, or is that?
You mean the same
Explain a little bit how the same origin, how it verifies that it's the same origin?
All right. So same origin is got to be same host name, same port.
Okay.
So, and again, host name, fully qualified domain name. And again, so if you did have something you wanted to be done from subdomains, you would have to do allow from URL.
Okay.
So.
Same port, so if your site was, if you had same origin, and your site was SSL, your iframe would have to be SSL.
Right, you couldn't frame it from a port 80 thing. And that's part of like, if you read up on the web's same origin policy, that's something they put in deliberately, that again, same origin implies same port as well. So. All right. Guess I'm good.